A luxurious mansion. The wedding is grand, dripping in gold and grace. But the bride isn't smiling. Her heart aches for the man standing silently in the corner, not the groom beside her. The man she truly loves is watching her marry his elder brother. In a world where wealth hides secrets and power chooses love's fate, what happens when the heart rebels? The evening sun bathed the sprawling estate in a golden glow. In the distance, the mansion stood tall, a symbol of wealth and legacy. But within its walls, a different kind of story was unfolding. Two brothers, David and Toby, stood at the edge of their world, each carrying a different burden. David, the eldest, was everything their family could ever ask for: handsome, composed, and the heir to a fortune. His demeanor was polished, almost cold, and everything about him screamed power. Toby, on the other hand, was different. A breath of fresh air in a sea of perfection. He had the charm of someone who never needed to prove his worth. Yet he was often overshadowed by his older brother's success. He was free-spirited, carefree, and, most importantly, deeply in love. Amara had always been a dreamer. Raised in a middle-class family, she found herself caught between ambition and the pressure of societal expectations. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. She wasn't supposed to fall for someone like Toby, someone who seemed so far removed from her reality. But their love had ignited unexpectedly, like a spark in the night. They met during their first year at university. Toby had been the charming, confident guy everyone gravitated towards, while Amara had always been the quiet, observant type. It wasn't long before their paths crossed, and a simple conversation turned into something more. They'd spend long afternoons together, discussing their hopes and dreams. Toby's gentle eyes would lock onto hers, and the world around them would disappear. They knew what they were doing was risky. Toby's family, the powerful Daly clan, would never approve of a union with a middle-class girl like Amara. Yet their love flourished in the shadow. It was their little secret, shared only between them. No one in Toby's world knew, and Amara's family, scraping to get by, would never accept her stepping outside their circle for someone so far above them. So they hid. They had to. One evening, under the darkening sky, they shared a kiss. A promise of forever that felt both real and fleeting. Toby held her close, whispering, "I'll never let go, Amara. I don't care what they say." Amara smiled, her heart pounding. "We'll find a way. We always will." But fate, it seemed, had other plans. As the weeks went by, their love remained a secret. Amara continued to keep her distance, hiding behind smiles and polite conversations when she encountered David, who had yet to notice the subtle glances she and Toby shared. But one afternoon, as fate often works in the most unexpected ways, David walked in on them, Amara and Toby, in a quiet moment in the university library. Their hands were intertwined, and their gazes locked in a way that no one could mistake. David stood frozen in the doorway, his sharp eyes taking in the scene before him. The younger brother, with a look of surprise on his face, pulled his hand back, but not before David noticed the way Amara's eyes flickered, guilty yet vulnerable. The tension in the air was thick enough to slice through. David didn't speak a word. He simply turned, walked away, and said nothing. The Dele family patriarch, Chief Obina Dele, was not a man who asked, he declared. And when he called a sudden family meeting in the mansion's grand hall, both sons stood in silence, waiting. His voice echoed through the marble-clad room with chilling certainty. David will marry Amara. It is a smart, business-aligned union. Her father has been loyal for decades, and the partnership will benefit both families. David blinked, caught off guard. "Amara?" he asked, unsure if he had heard right. "Yes," Chief Dele replied, not missing a beat. "You're the heir. It's time you settled with someone respectable." David nodded slowly. He barely knew Amara, but he had never disobeyed his father. Not once. The deal was made, and his role was clear. Across the mansion, Toby stood frozen in disbelief. He had overheard the entire conversation from the staircase above. His world collapsed in a single sentence. Amara, his Amara, was being handed to his brother, like a business contract. He rushed to see her that night. Her small apartment felt even smaller now, full of tension and unspoken heartbreak. "Tell me it's a lie," he said, voice trembling. "Tell me you'll say no." But Amara couldn't meet his eyes. Her father had already received a generous advance. Her mother had cried tears of relief. Years of struggle washed away with one announcement. "Toby, I don't have a choice," she whispered. "Yes, you do," he argued, grabbing her hand. We'll run away. We'll find a way. She pulled away, tears in her eyes. And live how? In shame. In hiding. Your family will ruin mine. Toby's heart broke right there in that dimly lit room. He wanted to scream, to fight, but he knew what his family was capable of. Power didn't ask. It crushed. Amara stood by the window, staring out into the night. The lights of the city sparkled like promises she would never get to keep. She closed her eyes and made the decision. The next morning, the engagement was announced. Amara wore a calm face, but inside, everything was falling apart. She had accepted the proposal, not for love, not for happiness, but to protect the people she couldn't afford to lose. The Dele mansion was transformed into a palace. Crystal chandeliers hung like floating stars. Silk drapes whispered secrets in the breeze, and gold-trimmed roses lined the marble aisles. Society's elite gathered, dressed in extravagance, whispering praises about the union of wealth, power, and legacy. Cameras flashed. A live orchestra played. Everything looked perfect, except the bride's eyes. Amara stood still, wrapped in white lace and diamonds worth more than her father's life savings. She was flawless, elegant, poised, yet her soul felt numb. Her smile was painted on, lips trembling beneath the weight of expectation. As she stepped forward, her fingers curled tightly around the bouquet, not out of joy, but to stop them from shaking. In the crowd, Toby stood alone near the back. His suit was sharp, but his heart was shattered. He couldn't believe this day had arrived. The love of his life, the woman he had dreamt of building a future with, was walking toward his brother in a dress meant for someone in love. His chest tightened with every step she took. His eyes met hers for a brief second, hers full of sorrow, his of silent rage and pain. David, handsome and composed, waited at the altar. He smiled as Amara approached, unaware of the war happening behind her quiet gaze. He noticed how her hand trembled slightly as he took it, how she avoided his eyes when he recited his vows. But he dismissed it. Nerves, perhaps, or the pressure of the spotlight. He had never truly known Amara, only agreed to marry her because it made sense, because it was expected. The ceremony passed in glittering grandeur. Vows were exchanged. Rings were slipped on. Applause erupted like fireworks. But Toby didn't clap. He slipped away the moment the crowd stood to cheer. At the reception, champagne flowed like rivers. Laughter filled the halls. David and Amara performed the traditional couple's dance, their movements elegant but mechanical. She looked like a queen, but inside, she felt like a trophy, polished and displayed, never asked what she wanted. Midway through the evening, someone noticed Toby was missing, then another. By the end of the night, whispers began to swirl. He hadn't said goodbye. He hadn't left a note. He was just gone. And as the guests laughed and celebrated under chandeliers and fireworks, Amara stood by the window once more, watching the darkness swallow the only man who had truly seen her. The wedding was beautiful, but it was built on broken hearts. Amara struggles to adjust to her new life. The mansion is vast, filled with priceless art, designer furniture, and a silence that echoes louder than noise. She walks through gold-accented halls in elegant gowns, but none of it feels real. Each room is colder than the last, and every luxury reminds her of what she lost. She's rich now, but lonely. The staff greets her with respect, but no warmth. Her in-laws treat her like a perfect addition to their empire, yet she knows she was chosen, not loved. She smiles at the right times, nods when spoken to, and plays her part as David's wife, but inside, she's shrinking. David tries to connect, in his own way. He's not cruel, he's polite, composed, and even thoughtful. He brings her gifts, asks about her day, and shares his plans. But he doesn't truly see her, and she doesn't offer him what he craves. Affection. Her eyes are often distant, her voice measured. He senses the chill between them, but can't name its source. So he tells himself it's just newness, that time will fix it. Her eyes always search for someone who's no longer around. Sometimes she finds herself pausing in corridors, hoping to see Toby's face turn the corner. Her dreams still whisper his name, and though she never speaks of him, his absence fills every quiet moment like a shadow. One cloudy afternoon, while rearranging her bookshelf, Amara finds an old diary from her university days, a soft, worn cover, familiar pages. Memories rush back. As she flips through, her fingers stop at something unusual, a note tucked carefully inside the back. She opens it. It's his handwriting. Toby, if fate ever locks you away, remember, I never stopped loving you. I'm not far. I'm just waiting for the day you find your way back to yourself. Her breath catches. In that moment, surrounded by wealth and silence, Amara feels something stir. Not hope, not yet, but a heartbeat, a reminder. Toby hadn't disappeared. His love had only gone quiet, until now. Toby returns, but changed. Gone is the soft-spoken university boy who once loved in whispers and gentle gestures. In his place stands a man shaped by distance, ambition, and heartbreak. His suit fits like it was made for power. His voice is calm, but carries weight. Every step he takes is deliberate, every glance calculated. The boy who once lost everything has become a man who now holds his own, now a successful man on his own terms. Toby didn't just survive his disappearance. He built something out of it. A booming tech startup, press coverage, interviews with industry giants. He walks into the mansion, not as David's younger brother, but as a man who made the world notice him without the family name. David is thrilled to see him, unaware of the storm he brings. He wraps his brother in a warm embrace, full of nostalgia and pride. He offers him a drink, insists he stay longer. Toby smiles, polite, careful. He plays the role, but his eyes scan the room like they're looking for someone. Amara and Toby meet again. Eyes say what lips cannot. The moment is brief, but electric. She freezes when she sees him standing near the staircase, his gaze already locked on hers. There's a flicker of pain, of longing, of something unresolved. The years melt away in that silent second. No words are spoken, yet everything is said. They exchange polite greetings in front of others, like strangers who've only heard of each other, but their hands tremble slightly. The air feels too thick to breathe. Later, David leads Toby through the house, showing him everything he's built, everything he now shares with Amara. He doesn't notice how quiet his wife becomes, or how her eyes follow Toby when he looks away, but something lingers, an energy that even David can't fully ignore. As David pours another glass of wine and laughs at an old memory, his gaze briefly shifts. Across the room, he catches it, a glance between Toby and Amara, too quick for words, too heavy to be harmless. Something unspoken just cracked the surface. Tension builds between the brothers. What was once a warm reunion now feels more like a silent competition. David can't quite name it, but something has shifted. Toby's presence lingers too long. His eyes hold too much. At family dinners, conversations start light, but end in silences. A look here, a pause there. The bond between them stretches thinner with each passing day. Amara starts to act strange. She's no longer cold, but her warmth is inconsistent. Some days, she's kinder to David than ever, making efforts, smiling more. Other days, she vanishes into silence, lost in thoughts she refuses to share. At night, she walks alone in the garden, holding the old diary she once found. David notices. He watches her from the balcony, wondering if she's growing into their life or drifting further from it. Toby's visits grow more frequent. He says he's there for business updates with their father. He claims he's trying to reconnect with the family, but he always finds a reason to stay longer. Sometimes he arrives when David isn't home. Once, David comes back early and finds Toby in the music room, Amara beside him, their conversation hushed and unfinished. They both jump at the sight of David. Smiles come too fast, excuses too smooth. Flashbacks reveal their past in more depth. Amara remembers the nights on campus with Toby, how he'd walk her to her hostel even when it rained, how he taught her chess, how they made plans to build a future from scratch. She remembers how he cried the night he found out she was to marry David, how she begged her parents to say no, how the weight of their poverty crushed every plea. Meanwhile, Toby, in his moments alone, replays the day he left, the heartbreak, the hunger to prove he could become someone without the family's wealth, but also the betrayal that still clings to his chest, how his brother took what was his, unknowingly or not. And now, seeing Amara every day, pretending to smile, pretending to be okay, it burns. David begins to feel it, the way they never speak of the past, the way Amara pulls away when he touches her, the way Toby avoids looking him in the eye during dinners. Something's wrong. He knows it, but he doesn't want to believe it. One evening, David walks past the study and hears voices, Amara and Toby. He doesn't mean to eavesdrop, but he freezes when he hears her say softly, "It wasn't just love, Toby. It was a stolen future." David confronts Amara. The room is quiet, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. He stands in front of her, fists clenched, voice shaking, not with anger, but with heartbreak. Is it true? He asks. Amara looks at him, her eyes wide, wet, but she says nothing. Her silence screams louder than any confession. She tries to walk past him, but he blocks her path. Tell me it's not what I think. Tell me he's not the one you still love. Her lips tremble, but not a word leaves them. Instead, she lowers her gaze and walks away. That was all the answer he needed. Later, he finds Toby outside near the fountain, their childhood place, once filled with laughter, now soaked in betrayal. You and Amara? David asks, his voice hoarse. Toby doesn't flinch. He looks up, calm, almost too calm. Yes, he says simply. She was mine before you ever knew her name. David takes a step forward, fury blazing in his chest. You came back just to ruin my life? Toby shakes his head. Number, I came back because I was tired of running from it. The air turns electric. Words grow sharp. You should have told me, David growls. You should have fought then, not now. Toby's eyes harden. I did fight. You just didn't see it. You were too busy living the life our parents handed to you on a golden platter. David's hand curls into a fist. I didn't choose this. I loved her in my own way. Toby's laugh is bitter. And that's the tragedy. You loved her in your own way, but never enough to see who she really was. The argument erupts into a physical fight. A punch is thrown, then another. Years of buried resentment explode all at once. The garden echoes with the sound of brothers breaking. Their mother rushes in, shouting for them to stop. It takes every ounce of strength for the house staff to pull them apart. Their mother stands between them, shaken but determined. Enough, she yells. This is not what I raised you to become. David, bruised and panting, looks at her with blood in his mouth and confusion in his eyes. Why, mother? Why her? Why force this marriage? She turns pale. The moment she's dreaded is here. She sighs deeply and finally speaks, her voice low. Because I knew about you too. I saw it in your eyes, and I was afraid that love would lead you away from the family, from our legacy. I chose Amara for David to keep you both close, to protect this family's future. Her words fall like poison into already cracked hearts. Toby stares at her, disbelief flooding his face. You used her, he whispers. You destroyed 3 lives to save your pride. David stumbles back, trying to understand whether he's more hurt by his brother's betrayal or his mother's manipulation. Amara watches from the shadows, tears streaming down her cheeks, feeling like a pawn in a game that was never hers to win. Toby turns to David one last time, wiping blood from his mouth. His voice is steady, eyes burning with truth. You don't deserve her, he says, walking away, and you never did. Amara finally speaks to David. It's late at night, and the house is still. She enters his study, where he's sitting in silence, a drink untouched on the table. She doesn't ask for permission to speak. She just begins. I never loved you, she says, her voice calm, steady, but stripped of all softness. I tried to be a good wife. I tried to respect what we had. But it was never love, David. It was survival. He looks up slowly, eyes dull. Why now? He asks, not angry, just tired. Why tell me this now? Because I'm done pretending, she replies. Toby was never just a memory. He was the part of me I buried to make everyone else happy, and I can't do it anymore. David is silent for a long time. Then he nods, slowly, painfully. So, this is it. Yes, she says, this is it. He rises from his chair and walks past her, pausing in the doorway. You want to be with him? Fine, be with him. But you will not bring shame to this family. Whatever you do, do it quietly, with dignity. Don't make us a story people whisper about at dinners. She wants to argue, to scream that this family never gave her a voice, but she doesn't. Instead, she just says, I understand. But inside, she feels like she's walked from one cage into another. Freedom with conditions, love with warnings. Escape maybe, but not peace. Meanwhile, Toby is packing his bags. He's booked a flight, a new country, a fresh start. The pain has been too much. He's tried staying. He's tried leaving. Nothing seems to bring him peace. So he chooses distance. Maybe that will quiet the noise. He stands at the gate, heart heavy but resolute. A voice over the intercom announces final boarding. He grabs his bag and walks forward. Suddenly a voice calls out from behind, breathless, shaking. Toby! He turns. It's her, Amara. She's out of breath, tears in her eyes, clutching the strap of her purse like it's holding her together. I couldn't let you leave without knowing. I choose you. No more hiding, no more shame. I don't care about the legacy or the rules. I just want a life that feels like mine. Toby stares at her, unsure if this is real. The loudspeaker calls his name again, but he doesn't move. Slowly, he drops the bag and walks toward her. Amara stands before the mirror, draped in silk and diamonds, yet feeling bare. The mansion is quiet, the staff instructed not to disturb her. Her room, once a symbol of achievement, now feels like a cage padded in gold. The choice before her isn't just about love. It's about identity, about who she wants to be when no one else is watching. The offer David gave still echoes in her head. You can stay. You'll have everything. Just forget him. And Toby's voice, soft and steady, whispers from memory. I don't have much to give you. No palaces, no power, just me, my truth, and a life we build from scratch. She walks through the empty halls, remembering the first time she set foot here, how awe had danced in her eyes, how her mother's smile had stretched with pride, how her father, for the first time, had stood tall among powerful men. This life had saved her family, but it had cost her heart. She thinks back to the university days, simple evenings spent on benches with Toby, laughing over cheap coffee, how fearless she had felt back then, how love had made her brave enough to dream bigger than poverty or privilege. With Toby, she had never needed to pretend. Now, her world is full of pretending. Flashbacks flood in, Toby's hands holding hers as they ran from a sudden rainstorm, the time he stood up to a professor who insulted her, the way he looked at her like she was enough, even when she felt small. She steps outside. The wind is cool against her face, grounding her. A car is waiting, not a chauffeur-driven one, just a regular taxi. Toby said he would wait. No pressure, just hope. Her heart races. She thinks of her parents, their sacrifices, their pride, of David, not cruel, just lost in a world of rules, of herself, the version of her who once believed in love more than legacy. She closes her eyes. The world fades, the pressure, the fear, the noise, and when she opens them again, she's walking, not back inside, but forward, toward the unknown. Years have passed. The grand halls of mansions are long behind her. Now, Amara wakes to the scent of brewed coffee and the sound of birds outside a small window. The home is modest, paint chipped in some corners, the garden sometimes wild, but it breathes warmth. It is hers, theirs. Toby hums from the kitchen, flipping pancakes with the same carefree charm that once won her heart. He's aged a little, lines by his eyes, a few greys in his curls, but so has she. Together, they've grown into a quieter kind of happiness, not built on extravagance, but on peace, on knowing who they are, and more importantly, who they're not. Amara now runs a small charity in the heart of the city, not flashy, not widely known, but deeply meaningful. She helps women, young and old, break free from forced unions, giving them shelter, education, and most importantly, choices. Every time she walks through the center's modest doors, she remembers her own chains, her silence, and how close she came to losing herself. That memory fuels her, makes every late night worth it. Toby writes now, novels, essays, sometimes letters that never get sent. His words speak for those too scared to raise their own. And sometimes, when Amara returns from work, she finds him by the window, notebook in hand, waiting to read her something new. It's in those small, unspoken moments that their love feels the strongest. Then there's David. He comes by every now and then, always alone, always with a quiet smile, no bitterness, no resentment, just a man who once lost something and learned to live with it. He and Toby talk, not like brothers torn by the past, but like men who finally stopped running from it. Amara, too, greets him kindly. There are still silences between them, but not heavy ones, just the kind that comes with time and healing. One afternoon, as sunlight streams into their little kitchen, Amara sits with a cup of tea, watching Toby and David fix a broken chair together. She smiles, not because everything is perfect, but because it's real, and sometimes, real is enough. She looks out the window, where a new flower has bloomed in their garden, pushing through cracked earth. Sometimes, love demands everything, and sometimes, that's the only way to be free. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales that stay with you long after the ending.